Well, welcome to the next episode of the Dragon's Lair. Today we are speaking with Carolyn Wilkins.
So I'm the director of curriculum for kindergarten through sixth grade,
Okay,
which means I provide classroom support for teachers in those grade levels with curriculum needs, which is really when you're talking about the materials that teachers use, and instructional needs, which is more about the strategies they use to instruct students.
It's a big department, Jennifer. It's kind of like, Coca-Cola making the Cokes, the actual drinks. Like the curriculum and instruction team is doing what we're here for. They do a great job, and there's several people on that team. But talk us a little bit, Carolyn, anybody not real familiar, because it is something people aren't real familiar with if they're not close to the school system. What does the curriculum instruction team do over the course of a whole year's period? A brief summary, obviously. Y'all do a lot.
We do a lot. So some of the things that we do, for instance, is we're supporting teachers. So if teachers are struggling with new initiatives that come from the state or new technology that we've purchased to support them in the classroom, or if they're beginning teachers and they just need support in general, then we're here for them. We will meet with the principals of the schools, and they'll give us more direction in what they're looking for or who they've identified might need some support, or if a team has come to them and said they've needed help. So one thing I've recently worked on with Pickens Junior High School was on some strategies for teaching writing. So the teachers were looking for some new ideas about how to change up what they were doing. So I went and shared a few ideas with them so that they can then infuse that into their daily curriculum. We have a lot of different software programs at the different schools. So sometimes we'll take the time to learn a portion of that program, and then we'll go and share that with the teachers and the teaching teams.
Yeah.
A big initiative. Yeah, a big initiative that we have right now is with the change in using Canvas from It's Learning. And so we have been the ones who have kind of been the mediators with the company and with the teachers. So the teachers let us know what they're looking for the program to do, and then we work with the company to find out how to do that. And part of our team for that is our instructional coach, Mallory Hyatt.
Right. There's a team, there's an academic coach at each building, Jennifer, and there's a couple of instructional coaches throughout the district, like Mallory Hyatt, that work with that team to bring everything together. So it's a streamlined process. Yeah, some districts have many schools at the same grade band. They may have 7 or 8 high schools. We only have one high school. We only have one 7th and 8th grade school. We have one 5th and 6th grade school. But at the elementary level, we do have 3 different schools. And part of the district office team is to ensure that there's some comparability and there's some camaraderie among those 3 schools, because they're all going to 5th grade at the same place. And so there's 2 different things at play there. One is from 5th grade to 12th, you've got all the kids in one building in the district, and you're trying to support that. And then in the other buildings, trying to ensure some kind of continuity, because that's something we hear from the teachers a lot, that's what they want. And then it's also something we kind of struggle with, because each building is its own place and has its own culture. So Carolyn, talk real quick about elementary school and specifically, and how you guys support that, the 3 different schools with the same grades, which is, that's the only thing we have like that. Many other districts have every grade band like that. We only have the elementary schools, but talk about that for a bit.
Sure. So I think instrumental at the elementary schools is the academic coach role. We meet once a month as a team, and we sort of talk about what's going on in the 3 buildings. And that's a way for them to share ideas with each other, and also to find out what's working at one school that another school might want to do. A big initiative in elementary right now has to do with reading. There are some changes to reading coming during the school year 25-26. It requires some additional reading training. So all of the teachers in kindergarten through 3rd grade need to complete that training. So a big initiative we're working on this year is helping everybody get lined up for those courses. And the academic coaches are playing a big role, because they're all participating in that as well. And so that helps us with them in the building, and then they can let us know what other supports they need. This year they have new math standards. So we've been talking a bit about how they're implementing those math standards in the classrooms. And I walk through the schools with the principals, and we talk about what we see instructionally and come up with some ideas for support for them, as well as things that they need support from us. So we work kind of hand in hand with them in what they identify as the as their needs. Like Mr. Parker said, each school is its own entity and they have some autonomy at the school level. So the principals have different ideas that they'd like to try, and our job is to really support them with whatever they identify.
Absolutely. Jennifer, do you have a better understanding now of
I
what
do.
Carolyn does?
I do.
Do you have
Yes.
any more questions for her?
How often does curriculum change?
Well, typically curriculum's on a 6-year cycle.
Okay.
Georgia does it a little bit differently. They don't require schools to adopt materials every 6 years. Some states do require that. But about every 6 years, it's time to look at it, to see what we have and to see what our needs are. The reading change is big. The reading change is happening across the country. So we see many states that are ahead of us, many states that are following us, and making changes sort of back to a focus in the primary grades on phonics and making sure that students are able to decode words when they get to them, and then moving that up through the grade levels so that students have better reading comprehension, and that we know that that's important for secondary schools as well. So we're seeing this shift in the language arts standards for 25-26. We'll probably see some instructional changes that are going to happen along the way for that secondary wise as well. But it's usually about every 6 years or so. Last year, we spent some time looking, especially with the elementary schools, at what each school was using to see if we had some alignment. Because as Mr. Parker said, when the students are getting to 5th grade, we'd like them to come in with no gaps and they have a foundation of everything that they were intended to learn in elementary. But we definitely want to avoid having gaps based on difference in elementary schools. So we look to align the curriculum across the 3 elementary schools this past summer, and we did some of that work.
Very interesting.
Yeah, it's the main thing, and it's the hardest thing, and it's the hardest thing to shift quickly for people to understand. Like the overall arching test scores or things where they measure how effective the students are performing changes gradually over time, better or worse, hopefully better for us. But it is not as simple as maybe the football coach getting in there and putting in a few new football players and some new plays, and everybody goes to the game on Friday and sees that the team got better. It doesn't work like that. And I think that's the thing that people don't quite understand about curriculum instruction department. It's very vast, and it's very, it moves at a slow rate because you have some individual really great success stories, but for everything to shift and move in curriculum, it takes a long time. So it's thankless work at times because you don't get that immediate, we had more points than the other team type thing. And see, I've been on both of that. I've been the coach and I've been here at the central office. So it is easier when you have that scoreboard and you can show everybody, look what we did. And you saw it week to week. And then what Carolyn and Anita and Destiny and our team do is try to guide the principals who really make all the decisions at their schools into that process. And so it's a slow moving process, but we're really excited about where that team's going.
Yeah, what Mr. Parker's talking about a lot is systemic changes. And that takes a little bit because each individual classroom can act as its own entity as well as each school. And so teachers like to see those quick wins where they immediately do something and they can see the change in students. But we're looking for the long game.
Right.
And so we need to see that the changes we're making, say in the phonics instruction now, is going to end up impacting reading comprehension at the junior high and high school 8 years down the road.
Right.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
And that's
A lot
what
of forward thinking.
Yes. We have to stay ahead of the game.
Yes.
Well, we appreciate you joining us, Carolyn. That was great. Look forward to talking to you again sometime.
All right. Very good. Thank
you
you.
so much.